The Inner Sanctum presents the Wednesday Whip Around.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Wednesday Whip Around, another special edition of the Whip Around. We're back this week after a week off due to circumstances that will not be revealed. No, I'm just kidding. We just had a week off. So it was a pretty big week of sport that we've missed. And to talk about it, I've got two very special guests with me. Firstly, I'll introduce Kristen, who's on again. Hello, Kristen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you this week?
I am not as happy as I was last week, but anyway, we live and let live. Port Adelaide aren't doing that great, and that's because Geelong bet us, and a Geelong supporter joins us tonight. Scott, welcome to the Wednesday Whip Around, your debut, mate.
Beautiful. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yes, well, it's good to see a new face on the Whip Around. Start to get sick of those other people that we have on every single week, but I'm kidding. It's good to have you on.
You'll be sick of me soon enough.
Yeah, well, you're a Geelong supporter. I've been sick of you before I met you, mate.
That's it.
I'm kidding. But let's get straight into let's talk a bit of footy, actually, from the weekend. And besides some of the results that happened over the weekend, I think the biggest story that came out of it was the AFL umpiring. And there was one game in particular on the weekend, Brisbane versus Hawthorn down in Tassie. Everything became a free kick. And I don't know if you guys caught the game, but I was sitting there watching it, and I was in a different state to normal. And I'm telling you, I got so frustrated with some of the decisions. A little push in the chest by Lachie Neale was given a free kick, and there was a 50-metre penalty given for something else. Scott, tell us your thoughts on the umpiring strategies that are in place at the moment. And I think they need to be fixed.
Well, yes, you can tell by the media and the Twitter sphere and all that social media circus that, people aren't happy with how it's going. I actually feel a bit sorry for the umpires themselves. They get given these rules that they have to implement, and it would be bloody hard to actually try and adjudicate them out there in a pro game like that. And so it's pretty hard to actually try and get it right all the time. And yeah, they're the ones that are always going to cop it on the day. It's funny though, because there's some games where there's hardly any free kicks and people complain that, they missed that one, this one. And then when there's a game where there's lots of them paid, we complain that there's too many. So how do you find that balance? It's bloody crazy.
Yeah, it is. And I think, Kristen, as well, there's a massive word in umpiring school that I've heard about, and it's one word, and it's interpretation. Every umpire has a different interpretation on the same rule. Is this the major factor in what's been happening?
I think that is a lot to do with it. Yes. I mean, we're coming into round 11 now, and I feel like it's been the same story every week when it comes down to the umpiring, and it's taking away from some of the highlights in the game. And I get it. If it's up for interpretation, well, everybody's going to see something different. And then it kind of doesn't really become a rule anymore, does it? It's just a giant grey area that they're sitting there. And then it also leaves it up to, well, if you feel like calling it, you can call it. And if you don't, you don't. You look at some of the other sports in the world, say baseball, for example, and if the umpires, they get a report card the next night. So if they have a few average calls, it comes out the next day and it goes out to all the fans, and they have a percentage of calls that they got wrong and whether it went in favour for one team or the other team. And I think that tightens it up a lot. Like at the moment, there's just no real feedback for the umpires to tighten it up, is there at the moment?
No, there isn't. And I think that's the biggest issue is they've almost got a free pass through this, and I know they're wrong. They might be adjudicating it correctly in the AFL's eyes, but in the fans' eyes, they're not doing it the right way or how it should be. And I think, Scott, you put it perfectly. Like, there's so many rules that have to be adjudicated that when it comes to interpretation, each umpire is going to have it differently. I think you're right. It's not their fault, but at the same time, we do judge players on their performance, and I think umpires should get the same treatment. What are your thoughts?
I also think that the AFL is really quick to go, oh, no, the umpires were right. They're not like that. people make mistakes. They could come out and say this umpire has made this many mistakes, but the AFL are quick to go, no. They don't actually come out and say, oh, they've made this many mistakes, and they always just back their umpires in. We just like to hear them have a bit of honesty. I think the fans just get more and more frustrated that the AFL is just on the umpire's side and not actually letting the fans see that there's a human side to them, if you know what I mean. And so, yeah, that's just, I read yesterday that more and more people are going, and one of the things is the umpiring, that they're just getting more and more frustrated with the way the game's being adjudicated and all the extra rules every bloody year that come in. So,
yeah, I agree with that completely. I think Adam Cooney put out a quote, or 7AFL put out a quote from Adam Cooney saying, fans aren't coming because of the pandemic anymore. Fans aren't coming because of the umpiring and how much they've fell away from the game. And I've seen comments all over pages and forums and everything, and they're saying, I only go to watch the footy for my team. Like, they don't even watch footy for footy anymore, which is
that's sad.
A big problem. Yeah, it's sad. Like, and I used to be one that would watch 4 or 5 games a weekend. Still do, because, you know, I love the game a lot more than umpiring decisions. But to sit there and see the state of it now, I think it becomes a massive issue. And Kristen, I think this is the AFL's doing. They've backed themselves so much, they've dug themselves that much of a hole that now, if they go back on it, you know, they look like fools. But if they don't change something, they're still in a hole.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said it probably the last time I was on the whip around. I don't know about anyone else, but I don't go to the football to watch the umpires. And I think that's what the AFL's forgotten. Yes, they're an important part of the game and they are vital to how it runs. And I know that we have to, as the highest code, be shown to be looking after them so that you get your grassroots umpires. But I don't go to watch them. I go to watch the players. And if they're over umpiring, I'm the same. It turns me off. Like, I've probably watched less football this year than I've watched for the last 3. And it's not because I'm going out, but I'm turning on other sports instead. I'm watching things that I haven't watched for a long time, like rugby, for example, because even as a neutral fan on games, it's frustrating to see. And it's, you know, if everybody talking about it every week isn't making any changes, well, perhaps people turning off and not showing up to games is the only way that we're going to get change. I understand the human element. You know, you think back to probably 10 years ago when they first started experimenting with putting, like, you know, Razor Ray on the footy show and stuff like that. But now it kind of seems like we want them to be the celebrities almost, and that's not really where we get our enjoyment.
Yeah.
No, 100%. They're not. They're an integral part of. They're like a volunteer in a footy club. Well, they're such an integral part of setting everything up for game day and making sure everything runs smoothly. But they're not the main attraction, and they never have been, and they never should be. I understand. I reckon having a personality as part of an umpire is great, but I wouldn't make it the attraction of the game, because no one wants to go a game to blow a whistle. They want to go there to scream about, you know, Travis Boak running around inside 50 and kicking a goal, or, you know, Josh Rochelli's the next big thing in the Adelaide Crows, or, you know, been watching Joel Selwood for the last 35 years at Geelong do something. You know, they just want to be part of the football and the players and what they bring on the field, because umpires aren't kicking goals, it's the players. So, but in saying that, I think, yes, go on, Kristen.
I was going to say, you know, there's not too many other professions either where if you don't get constructive feedback that you actually get better. So, you know, look at those games, Brisbane, for example, that they've lost, you know, with those calls right on the siren that didn't go their way. You know, if you make a big mistake like that anywhere else, you're going to get called up for it. But these guys are consistently still getting games as AFL umpires and getting paid for it. And I know if I wasn't doing the right thing, I'd still want to get paid the same amount and you know, not have any comeback on me.
I read as well that I think there's about maybe 8 to 10 of the normal senior umpires are actually out injured at the moment. So there's quite a few of them that are actually rookies and first and second year umpires. So we go, I guess, easy on first and second year footballers, but we just because we don't know these guys as much, we just assume they're going to get it right all the time. So there's probably a little bit in the fact that they're all just quite a few inexperienced blokes out there as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing as well, is the umpires are coming into this with a set of rules that they're starting with. As a footy player, you come in as a 1 year, 2 year player, you're learning the basic skills and learning the game plan, and you're sticking with those skills throughout the rest of your career. Game plans change, that's fine. The skills are the same. The fundamentals of the game stay the same throughout the whole of your career. For the umpires, you could start for the first couple of years with a set of rules, and then 2 years later, you got another set of rules on top of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got to have a precedent where you're just stuck with the same basic fundamental rule or fundamental rules. And then if you have an interpretation on those rules, great. That's your own umpiring individualism. But, you can't train these guys to come in, have your senior umpires out and throw them in the deep end, and then they cop the criticism from fans, and the AFL doesn't even do anything about it. They just stand their ground. So it is actually a tougher situation. I think some people think they're just blowing a whistle on a Sunday Arvo. So, but if there's one rule, I'll ask you guys this: if there's one rule that you had to change or get rid of, I'll start with you, Scott. What would it be right now?
Only one. Beautiful. You could talk about a million. The one that actually still frustrates me the most is the hands in the back. So it did go to any hands in the back. They paid the free, and now they've gone back the other way to, I don't even actually know how forceful they have to try and adjudicate how forceful that push is, and if it's 2 motions or 3 motions or 10 motions, whatever it is. So I just sit and watch forwards every week in the games, and then you have no idea if they're going to pay it or not. And then they all get frustrated, and then 50 metres for the descent.
It all flows into one, I reckon. And as a backman, I play footy as a backman. Let me tell you, pushing the back, shocking, absolutely shocking.
It doesn't take much of a force to actually put them off their position.
When you have a frame like mine, absolutely. Poke me and I'm going over. But Kristen, what is your rule that you change?
That I would change? It would have to just be get rid of the dissent and just make it umpire abuse. Like if you turn around and you start swearing, fair call. I get that. That's a lack of respect. But if you're just showing frustration, that's not dissent. Or if you're standing in the middle of the ground and you say to someone else, "Oh, come on, that was rough." I think we need to kind of just get back to what we were doing, and because the penalty is far outweighs the crime a lot of the time, and I just think it's probably what's causing a lot of the boil overs and the frustrations.
Yeah, I agree. I think the dissent is the one that has to go, and you can question an umpire and his call because they're calling what you've done. They're questioning your action, so you can question them. They're not going to change it, but you can definitely question the call they've made. They're not going to change it, so why not have that conversation? If you call an umpire an abusive name, then okay, pay meters. But if you're questioning the call, I think that's fine. So, we look into that and we just think, hey, do the right thing, umpies. But I think we should move on from that because we could talk about that all night and change everything about the AFL. So I want to move into something that's probably we haven't touched on at the Sanctum or the Whip Around too much, especially last week missing the Whip Around episode. But Andrew Symonds, unfortunately, passing away, a legend of the game, the modern day superstar, guy that was basically a lovable character, passing away 10 days ago now, I think. So we found out today as well that his funeral details it's called Celebrating Roy. It'll be in Townsville at Riverway Stadium this Friday from 2:30 to 4 p.m. So something to send off the great man. I think, Scott, the impact he had on the game of cricket, it's probably underrated, I think, with the personality and the character that he brought to the game.
Yeah, he so I actually was sort of right in the time where I was big into cricket more so than any other time when he was playing Test cricket, and he was in and out, and some loved him and some hated him, and but his fielding and his ability to change a game, there was few that actually could change it that quickly. So there was games where they'd be 4 for nothing, and then he'd fail, and the next week 4 for nothing again, and he'd just turn it the other way and dominate and win us the game. And there's few that could actually turn it so quickly. So he was pretty impressive to watch, that's for sure.
I've never met. I didn't actually get a chance to meet him, but I've never seen a player probably be able to bowl medium paces and offies in
Yeah,
a spell and dominate on both ends, which was bizarre. I think, especially in his time, because you had your set spinners, you had your set pacemen, and for him to come in and bowl offies and then switch to medium paces, and then obviously what he could do with the bat was just sensational. And I think we'll never forget the 2006 Boxing Day Test where Australia were 4 for 80, I think, and him and Matthew Hayden put on 300 odd.
So
And
I was there standing
yeah,
in the MCC members and literally standing, and it was just ball after ball being hit. One went 1 meter to my right down the race into the Red Rooster. The next one, the next over, passed me the other way. It was just it's almost the most memorable day of cricket I've been to. Him and Hayden were just hitting them at us down one end for an hour straight. It was unreal.
See, like you have stories like that, and it's just absolutely fantastic. And I think Kristen as well. His impact post cricket, post playing in the com box, the personality he still brought to the game, and the impact he had on juniors as well. I think we've seen that more than we probably did when he was still with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a bit kind of like Scott. He was around in that time when I probably watched a lot more cricket than I do now. And he came in to the Australian side when there was a lot of it was an unsettled time. There was no Shane Warne, Lehman was banned, Watson was injured, and in comes Andrew Simons, and he just had like an immediate impact. And he just seems like one of those people who was just genuinely a warm person, and people gravitated to him, and that's why we loved him on the field with that smile that I think just got everyone, and why we loved him off the field as well. And like imagine being a kid and being able to have him as a part of your junior program and stuff like that. It would just be incredible. So I can see why those kids would have loved having him around and why he would have made such an impact.
And it's a shame too, because I think the knowledge he had of the game was very underrated. We saw that with his post-cricketing career. The man with the zinc lips that he had every single game he played. And, I think, and it's a sad thing too, because cricket in Australia is obviously huge. To lose the 3 men we've lost over the last 4 months, Scott, I think this is going to take its toll.
And like I reckon the Australian public warms to characters. You get the same. Well, most players just saying the same thing and towing the company line, but him and Morney as well in particular, they would just say it like it is and didn't care about the consequences, or they just were happy to speak their mind. And I think that's why we all love them so much as cricketers and as commentators and as sportsmen. So it is a shame for sure.
And I hope, in a way that his legacy kind of goes on. We've seen the tributes. We've seen, obviously what happened with Warney too. Probably a bigger personality worldwide, but still, Roy had his moments in the sun. And Kristen, I don't think anyone will ever forget the way he treated streakers.
No. That's going to be one of those iconic things that I think everyone will talk about and reminisce about pretty much forever. It's going to be one of those images as well that's just going to be in cricket lore for the rest of time.
Yep. I think We'll probably move on from Andrew Simons because it's such a sad loss, and the cricket world is probably still mourning. And as I said, this Friday will be the memorial service on that, and we'll hopefully as many people get there to support it as possible. But we'll move on and to probably not a sad story, but a disappointing story. We move into Formula One. Now, I was watching the Spanish Grand Prix on the weekend, guys, and let me tell you, when I'm sitting there watching the leaderboard on the side and everyone's moving up and down, getting spots, and the battle for the lead's awesome because Verstappen and Russell, Perez are fighting for the lead because Charles Leclerc's gone out. I'm thinking, great, people are falling out of place. Where's Danny Rick? He's sitting 13th. And not even, I felt like he wasn't driving. And that's how much pain I had. And I'll start with you, Scotty. I feel like it's actually not the car anymore, and it's just Daniel Ricciardo, and I hope that's just the fear and not the truth.
I hope you're right there. I mean, it is when we when you first burst on the scene, you think, oh, this guy's got all the ability in the world, and we just sort of keep waiting for that ability to come through. And there's the odd podium, the odd victory here and there, but it's very few and far between. And right, at what point do we think it's not the car, it's him? It's a bit confusing. I watch probably every third or fourth race, and when I don't watch, I get up and have a look at the results, and you get up and see him, he's finished a lap behind. That's just, for someone who's meant to have the ability that's just ridiculous, isn't it?
I sit there and I go, McLaren have promised so much, and Lando Norris gets to rubber green a little bit more and all of that. But when you come out, Kristen, and you hear Lando Norris had tonsillitis and still finished 8th in the points, Danny Rick coming out and saying, I got no idea what happened with the car, had no grip the whole day, had no pace, finishing 12th. A little bit more than just car issues, I think.
Yes, I think it's been well documented that he's had a few issues for a while now. And, as you said, you hope it's not him and it is the car, but it's kind of getting to the point now where it's like, well, something more probably needs to be said. There is a disappointment, I think, coming from everybody, and I think I saw some people in McLaren also kind of questioned him as well. So, I mean, if it is the car, we'll probably know in Monte Carlo, because if any track's going to catch you out, it's going to be that one. So I don't think he's going to have anywhere to hide if it's not the car.
Yeah. The walls of steel surrounded by boats in Monte Carlo. It's going to be a beautiful track. It's apparently supposed to rain, so anything can happen. So we could have three. Yeah, well, we could have 3 cars finish.
That first corner in the rain at Monte Carlo. Oh my God, they're gonna.
Monte Carlo's never had a car park until this weekend, I don't think. But
dear.
We'll go from Danny Rick. Hopefully he does well in Monte Carlo. What a place to do it. It's a beautiful place. Hopefully to get there one day himself. But we go from Monte Carlo with Danny Rick to the Australian swimmers. Dolphins. Kristen, tell us what's been happening.
We obviously were lucky enough in Adelaide to host the Australian Swimming Nationals last weekend from Wednesday until Sunday. And obviously we're picking 2 squads here for the World Champs and also the all-important Commonwealth Games coming up in Birmingham. We saw a lot of good performances, but I think the one on everyone's lips at the moment is Cody Simpson. Obviously his miraculous turnaround, 18 months of training and giving up the music career to focus on swimming is massive. And he has managed to nab himself a spot in the Commonwealth Games in the 100-meter fly, which is just incredible for him. It makes, I think, everyone wonder what could have been before, because you can't just fall into swimming. You need to have the dedication to go with the talent, and that's obviously something that he's got. So I think we're all looking forward to seeing how he backs that up in Birmingham. But we've got a lot of new kids as well, which is really good to see that new generation coming through. One in particular is distance swimmer Lani Pallister. She will be representing us for the first time at 19 years old, and her mum is actually a distance swimmer as well. She's one of the coaches, so that's nice. And I think we're in good hands with where we're heading with swimming now. It's a bit of a changing of the guard, so it's really exciting.
Is Cody Simpson the first ever person that's probably going to swim in some championship finals and also sing the national anthem?
He's probably the first person that could actually sing it properly.
He could probably sing it underwater. He's got a bit of a lungs. But Scott, Kyle Chalmers not going to be a part of this one. That's obviously going to be a massive loss. Does his presence not being there have an impact on this team?
That's an interesting one. Well, he's been around for, how long has he been around for? 10 years? More?
No, I think he came on in London, I think.
Yeah, so 10 years, yeah. So it's been quite a while. Like Kristen said, the changing the guard, I think that the new brigade coming through will just be what we focus on. I don't think it'll be as big an impact as we think.
Yeah, I agree. Kristen, your thoughts on that one?
I think it's good. I mean, Kyle's had his struggles with his body, obviously. So he has transitioned. He didn't do any freestyle in Adelaide. He focused on butterfly, which is different, and that's obviously allowed our youngest member, Flynn Southam, to come through and swim in the 100 freestyle. So I mean, there's always kids that are going to sort of take the spot, but it'll be different to what we saw even last year in Tokyo. There's been a big turnaround. And I think one other story that I really want to highlight is that of Shayna Jack, who obviously she has spent 2 years out of the pool with a doping ban. But she's come out under Dean Boxall and swam some incredible times, and she's also going to be on that Commonwealth Games team. So it's really exciting for her, and glad that she's been able to come out mentally well enough on the other side to produce good times.
That is great to see. I don't have too much else to touch on the swimming other than I think it's going to be a massive couple of events coming up. Do you have those dates, Kristen, on when those events are happening?
Birmingham is July, and I think the Worlds in Budapest is
in June.
End of June. Yeah. So they've got, which is quite difficult as well to have two events back to back so close. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that for the swimmers that are crossing over as well.
All right, test of the fitness, test of the swimmers. So it will be interesting to see. I'm going to keep my eye on Cody Simpson just in case he starts singing. But an interesting couple of months coming up for the swimmers, which is going to be great to see. And any final thoughts, Scott, on any of the topics? Anything you'd like to cover off before we head off?
Just appreciate being on, and glad to talk sport with sports-minded people. It's been great.
We are the mightiest of mighty at the Inner Sanctum. Kristen, any final thoughts on anything?
No, I think we covered it off. It's always a good time on the whip around, and hopefully you'll have me again.
Yeah, well, I think we might have to, but it's all good. Thank you guys for joining us this week, and thank you everyone for watching the Whip Around, the Wednesday Whip Around. We'll see you next week for another special edition. Ciao.